Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for putting this innovative stage here. It makes me feel like a cool guy here, trying to ramp here. And I think the similar sentiments my kind of an age people have already expressed here. So feeling great, and hopefully we will talk great about why we are here, what SIFI can do for the GCCs. There is a good amount of discussion that happened in the previous session and in the panel. It set the context around this whole journey. So this slide actually, the way my marketing lead was telling me that preaching to the choir, but it still helps me set the context on why SIFI, an Indian company, is here talking about its offering. It all, as everyone said, that it is moved from being just a task-based operation all the way up to now the transformational approaches-based work that is happening in GCCs. There is a good amount of complexity that has come into the operations of the global capability centers. These are not just the task, but all the way it's going to the research and development. The previous panel talked about that now the research and development tasks are also happening, which also require a complex kind of an infrastructure. If semiconductor industry is coming into India and they're setting up a lot of work and a lot of workloads here, what goes in making sure that that kind of industry infrastructure is enabled? The physical infrastructure is also enabled by the digital infrastructure. If research and development work is happening in the engineering side, and if there is a lot of simulations happening for the next generation automated cars or next generation equipment, then how those equipment and simulation could happen locally in India using the right infrastructure? What kind of digital infrastructure is required for that? And in that context, that is where we thought that we should come here and share our offerings and our ways of working so that we are able to talk about that, how we will be able to help in GCC's journey. And before we go there, I quickly want to talk about how actually SIFI also traveled this this journey ever since, let's say, the GCCs in 1985 came. So SIFI came into the picture in 1995 when the internet revolution started happening as the first internet service provider. As we moved on, it really became a business-to-business complex network solution company. And this is when you would say that when the GCCs come into India as just a center where some tasks were getting delivered, they needed a way to connect to the rest of the world. They needed a way to connect with each other, and that's when the connectivity services were important. But as the move forward and then the cloud innovation started, there was also the need for establishing the local cloud solutions, establishing the infrastructure that enables the complex cloud infrastructure. And that is when the data centers came into the picture. Set up the data centers that can host not just the small workloads that are just the switching stations for the telecom network, but also be able to host the cloud service providers workload that will ultimately host the clouds. And that's where the hyperscalers came in, and we became one of the first ones to host the hyperscalers in the country, and now growing along with them. And then now the next journey is really the artificial intelligence. And in this artificial intelligence journey, you need the network that is AI ready, you need the data centers that are AI ready, and then whole ecosystem around it, which is really ready to take care of artificial intelligence workloads. Artificial intelligence workloads, when it translates into the infrastructure, it is what? It can simply be considered in the manner that if you had in one rack be stacking some of those CPU-based hardware that will take care of and then consume X amount of energy, and that X amount of energy then when it consumed in the compute will generate enough heat that needs to be cooled in order to be able to make sure the right operation. With AI, that translates into 10x or 100x. Again, in terms of the infrastructure, in the energy side, if the earlier energy consumption was 5 kilowatts per rack or 10 kilowatts per rack, now the artificial intelligence workloads require those consumption to increase up to 130 kilowatt or the latest one when the GB200 or the new generation chips, GPUs were announced, they even went on all the way up to the 500 kilowatt or 600 kilowatt per rack. So it needs to be enough supply for power for that within that small place, and the heat that is generated from that electricity consumption also need to be cooled. So there are those technology adoption that needs to happen. SIFI has started doing that. And what we have done is that we have been able to build the data centers that are certified by NVIDIA to host GB200 racks, and also be able to be ready to host the next generation racks. That's where we are coming here and talking about. But when you consume so much of energy, when you consume so much of power and also be able to generating power, heat, then there are the questions come around about the sustainability. The questions come around that how you are making sure that such kind of infrastructure is really available to take care of the workloads. And then everyone is also talking about making sure that it's a net zero system. We are not leaving the carbon footprint behind. So in the next generation, what is important for us and what we are working on doing is key focus on sustainability, where making sure that we are bringing as much of renewable energy as possible, working along with the government and the policymakers to make sure that we are able to generate so much of renewable energy based on solar, based on the wind, and then the new conversation that have started doing the small modular reactor for the nuclear energy as well. And this is the way we are making sure that the GCCs who are establishing in the country are also able to take care of their sustainability goals. A quick one to move forward to talk about our setup, what we have in India now. We are present across the country in multiple cities. Our data centers are located everywhere, including Bangalore. Because the cloud service providers chose Mumbai as a big center for themselves, therefore we have a larger presence in Mumbai. We have a big presence in Hyderabad, and we also have launched recently a large data center campuses in Chennai and Noida. And all these data centers are connected using the express fiber route backbone, and therefore that is also be able to make sure that we are able to provide the low latency network. And those low latency networks become very important for GCCs also when they want to connect to the rest, to their head offices, and be able to extend the simulations hosted here or the infrastructure hosted here in the country to the rest of the world also in the low latency way. These services are also complemented by the other IT services that we are providing, including security and the managed services and the IT infrastructure and the cloud. And this is another way of giving you the details of everything that we have been able to do. The basic idea from our side is that we want to make sure that we are able to provide the infrastructure in India, whether in the data centers or whether in the network side, or whether a lot of the managed services that we can provide along with that to be able to help you in your innovation.